History books tell us that civilization began 5,000 years ago with the invention of farming, but that timeline is about to be shattered. Deep beneath the soil of Turkey, archaeologists have cracked the seal on a chamber that should not exist.
The site of Göbekli Tepe really did send shockwaves through the whole world of early prehistory, because we'd never before known or imagined even that simple hunter-gatherers could produce such spectacular monumental structures.
It is older than Stonehenge and more precise than the pyramids. It contains a message from a lost time, a warning left by people who watched their world end in fire and ice. What we found inside proves that we are a species with amnesia, and the truth is far more terrifying than fiction. The day history was rewritten from beneath the dirt. To understand why this is happening now, we have to look at the moment the excavation team realized they had found something that simply was not supposed to be there. Archaeologists in Turkey just pulled off the impossible. They cracked open a sealed chamber beneath Gobekli Tepe. If you do not know that name, you need to get familiar with it fast. It is hands down the oldest temple complex on Earth. For thousands of years, this mysterious room lay hidden in the dark, untouched and holding secrets no one could even guess at. The moment that seal broke, the experts were in total shock. For decades, this site has been the ultimate mystery dating back to around 9,600 BC. Let that sink in. That is long before the wheel, before writing, and before cities even existed. It is older than Stonehenge by 6,000 years. During a standard dig, the team noticed something odd in the soil using ground-penetrating radar. There were weird dips and strange lines that looked like a ghost structure hidden under the dirt. But here's the catch. The more they dug, the clearer it became that this was big. This was a room that had been sealed on purpose. It was not a ruin, it was a time capsule. It had been buried under 20 feet of compacted soil for thousands of years. No looters had touched it, and no rain had ruined it. The tension on the site was insane. Think about being one of the few people on Earth about to walk into a room that no human has seen for 12,000 years. Opening it was a logistical nightmare. The team had to move slower than a snail using special tools to avoid scratching the walls. One wrong move, and history is destroyed. Finally, the moment came. They breached the wall. The first light to hit that darkness in millennia revealed something spooky. It was not just an old room, it felt alive. Every stone, every corner, every shadow looked like it was put there for a reason. It felt like walking into a cathedral, not a cave. Even the tough, seasoned archaeologists got goosebumps. This space had been frozen in time, just waiting for us to find it. Basically, Gobekli Tepe already proved that ancient humans were smarter than we thought. We used to think people only built temples after they settled down and started farming, but this place proves the opposite. Religion came first. The temple came first, and then came the farms. This new chamber hints that there were secret rituals, maybe even secret knowledge that was too dangerous to be left out in the open. Patterns started to pop out, symbols and designs that were clues to the minds of the people who built this place. And that is when things got weird. The geometry was not just good, it was perfect. It was mathematical perfection that shouldn't exist in the Stone Age. It was proof of a heritage so old it makes the pyramids look like they were built yesterday. As they prepared to fully enter, one thing was clear. This was not just a room of rocks. It was a doorway into the mind of the first humans. But what they actually found inside the room defies all logic and changes everything. The silent echo chamber of a lost technology. As soon as the team stepped inside, they knew this was different. The room was huge, way bigger than they expected, and the walls were lined up perfectly. It was obvious that this was not an accident. But it was not a story about hunting deer, it was a story about the stars. The walls were covered in carvings, and that is putting it lightly. We are talking about high-definition art from the Stone Age. There were snakes, foxes, wild boars, and strange birds. But here is where the wild theories start to make sense. These were not just animals, they were constellations. Some experts believe the carvings are actually a star map, a map of the sky exactly as it looked 12,000 years ago. The scorpion is Scorpio, the bull is Taurus. If this is true, it means these primitive people knew more about astronomy than we did until a few hundred years ago. They knew about the precession of the equinoxes, a cycle that takes 26,000 years to complete. How could they know that without telescopes? It is baffling. Then there were the artifacts. They were not just thrown on the floor, they were placed there carefully. There were polished stone tools that looked brand new and bowls carved from limestone like it was butter. It challenges everything we think about cavemen. These were not dumb brutes, they were master engineers. But let's talk about the acoustics. This is a theory that is gaining a lot of traction. Some researchers think the chamber was built for sound. The shape of the walls creates a specific resonance. If you hum or chant in there, the sound amplifies and vibrates through your whole body. It sounds like magic, but it is just physics. Did they understand sound waves? It sure looks like it. Then the high-tech scanners revealed something even wilder. The three-dimensional scans showed that the carvings lined up with the sun. At certain times of the year, like the solstice, a beam of light would hit a specific carving. That is genius-level engineering. These people used the sun to tell stories in stone. Walking through the chamber felt like reading a book. There was a narrative of life, passing on, and rebirth. The wildest theory suggests the carvings are a warning about a comet impact. The vulture stone outside has symbols that point to a specific date, 10,950 BC. That is exactly when the Younger Dryas era began, a time when the world suddenly froze. Did these people survive it? And did they build this chamber to warn us that it could happen again? The evidence points to a group of people who simply should not have had this technology. The ghost architects of the Ice Age. When you tell people that hunters and gatherers built this place, they usually look at you like you are crazy. The story has always been simple. Humans were running around chasing deer, living in simple tents. Then they learned to farm. Then they built cities. But Göbekli Tepe throws that timeline in the trash. These people built a massive temple complex first. Before they had farms, before they had towns, it is like building a skyscraper before you invent the house. It makes no sense, but the evidence is right there. It forces us to rethink the word primitive. These guys were organized, smart, and determined. But who were they? This is where the theories get wild. Some ancient astronaut theorists point to the watchers from ancient texts. They say these were beings who came down and taught humans technology. Now, I'm not saying it was aliens, but the sudden jump in skill is suspicious. One day you are chipping flint, the next day you are moving 20-ton stones. It is a massive leap. Others think it was a lost civilization. Imagine a high-tech society that existed during the Ice Age. When the ice melted and the floods came, the survivors ran to the mountains in Turkey. Did they build Göbekli Tepe to preserve their knowledge? It would explain why the architecture is so good right from the start. It did not evolve. It just appeared fully formed. That is weird. Think about the labor. They had to quarry giant stones that weighed tons, move them miles without wheels, and arrange them in perfect circles. That takes hundreds of people working together. It takes a boss. It takes a plan. This implies a social structure way more complex than a small family tribe. The chamber fits right into this. It was hidden. That means some things were for everyone and some things were private. Maybe only the elders could go down there. It shows that they had levels in their society. Not everyone was equal. Astronomy was their clock. The way the chamber lines up with the sun proves they were watching the stars every single night. They knew when winter was coming. This knowledge was power. Religion was the glue. Building this place was probably an act of worship itself. Working together to move a 10-ton stone bonds a community. The sealed chamber was likely the heart of this, the Holy of Holies. We have to give them credit for the engineering too. To stack stones that heavy without mortar and have them stand for 12,000 years is better than most modern buildings. But the biggest mystery is not how they built it. It is the terrifying reason they decided to cover it all up and vanish. The message in a bottle from the end of the world. Here is the part that keeps experts awake at night. Göbekli Tepe was not destroyed by an enemy. The people who built it buried it on purpose. Just think about the effort that takes. You spend decades building these massive stone circles, and then one day you decide to cover it all up. They hauled in tons of dirt and rubble, filling every room, every corner. They buried their masterpiece. Why? This is where the Great Reset theory comes in. Did they know something bad was coming? Some researchers think they were trying to protect the site from a catastrophe. If a massive flood or a meteor storm was on the way, burying your library of stone is the best way to save it. It is like putting your hard drive in a safe. They wanted it to survive the apocalypse. And there is evidence for an apocalypse. It is called the Younger Dryas Impact Hypothesis. About 12,800 years ago, the Earth suddenly got very cold. Instantly. Many large animals went extinct. Some scientists think a comet hit the ice sheet in North America, sending a cloud of dust around the world. If the people of Göbekli Tepe saw this happen, they would have been terrified. They might have thought the gods were angry. The carvings in the lower chamber support this. Computer analysis suggests the artwork is a snapshot of the sky on the exact date the comet hit. Is the chamber a memorial to the day the world ended? It is a chilling thought. Another theory is the fear of the spirits. Maybe the site became too powerful and they buried the temple to trap the spirits inside to put a lid on the magic. The lower chamber feels like the VIP section. While the rest of the site was filled in, this room was sealed first and protected with extra care. This suggests that whatever is in there was the most valuable thing they owned. Not gold, not jewels, but knowledge. This leads us to a realization that could shatter our understanding of who we really are. The final clue to our forgotten ancestry. This isn't the end of the story. It is just the beginning. The discovery of the lower chamber is like finding the first piece of a new puzzle. We used to think the timeline was set in stone. Now everything is up for grabs. If these hunter-gatherers could build a hidden, high-tech ceremonial chamber, what else could they do? It opens up a whole new world of possibilities. We are going to learn so much about how the human mind works. Every carving is a clue to their psychology. How did they organize? How did they see the world? We might find evidence of early writing systems we did not know existed. And let's not forget the DNA. Scientists are now testing the bones found near the chamber. If they find genetic anomalies, that would be the smoking gun for a lost race. But here is the final thought that really matters. Think about the timeline. For nearly 200,000 years, humanity was essentially stagnant. We were survivalists, clinging to existence in caves. That is the vast majority of our story. But then, in what counts as a mere millisecond on the geological clock, everything exploded. We went from striking flint fires to stacking multi-ton stones with laser precision. All of this happened overnight in the eyes of history. One day we are hunting, the next we are building cathedrals that defy gravity. Standard history books tell us this was a slow, gradual climb. But does the evidence actually support that, or does it look more like a sudden, violent upgrade? It feels impossible. We have to ask the uncomfortable question, are we missing a key detail, a catalyst? So, what do you think? Was this chamber a warning about a comet, a stargate, or just a really fancy basement? And do you think there is a lost civilization waiting to be found? Let me know your craziest theories in the comments below. If you want to keep exploring the unknown, smash that like button and subscribe. Catch you in the next one.